Hello everyone! Welcome to the second part of Don't Touch Me challenge. A little shout out to Anna, my editor, for editing this part so fast, because I am so damn slow with writing these days, it's horrible. As always, special thanks to my lovely patrons and all of you who still watch my videos. Don't forget to subscribe to keep up with the uploads, and let's get into it, shall we? The issue Kenji faced with this challenge was the fact that their relationship had always been very touchy. With the exception of the time after the heart prank, they hadn't gone a day without at least a hug or cuddles before sleep. Meaning, it was going to be super weird for him to suddenly back away from touches. And knowing Aone, it was going to disturb him. But maybe it wasn't that bad in the end. Sure, their usual peace was rather rare these days, but maybe it would open some new opportunities to talk. They really needed that, Kenji knew. He just didn't know how to start. So, maybe this will help. How pathetic are you that you'd need to worry him to even start talking about things? You damn coward. He flinched when a sudden dull bang echoed through their house. Hissing quietly because of the fast movement, he jumped up from the couch and rushed to where he thought the sound came from, worried about the worst. Nobu, are you okay? When he got no answer, he barged through the door into Aone's workroom, half ready to find his fiancée with some broken bones or worse. Fortunately, neither of those bloody scenarios fulfilled, as he found Aone looking quite healthy, with only his shoulders slumped. Which immediately replaced the bad scenarios with completely new ones. What's wrong? Aone still didn't answer and continued to stare into the table, where Kenji soon spotted his phone. And that only had one explanation. Did they reject us again? He jumped back when Aone slammed his hand into the table, a frustrated, yet also pained groan leaving his mouth. What are we doing wrong? What bothers them so much? I don't know. You check every box of a good candidate. Except for having a girlfriend. As if reading his mind, Aone pushed himself from the table, frustration rolling from him in waves. Apparently not. They always find something. Maybe they just decided against you already and just hope you will give up. They wouldn't be the bad guys if... The rest of the sentence turned into a weak whimper, while his arms instinctively shot up to shield his head when Aone threw his arms out. Possibly in helplessness over the whole situation, but Kenji didn't have time to think about that. The room went silent as both just now realized what happened. For a long while, neither of them said anything. Neither of them moved. Kenji's heartbeat thundered in his ears, his mind torn whether to be ashamed he thought so low of Aone or to keep his arms up, just in case. Kenji? He let out a shaky breath, slowly lowering his forearms until Aone's face appeared behind them. He looked horrified, almost as much as back when he found him under the staircase with a broken knee. And Kenji never felt so ashamed for his reaction. Sorry. No, I'm sorry. It wasn't supposed to be like that. You know I would never lay a hand on you, right? Kenji knew. Aone was too kind to ever hurt him on purpose, physically or otherwise. and yet his first instinct was to cower more often than not. I know. It was a reflex. You looked so mad, and because it's probably my fault we can't get through the system. A second later, he found himself squished against the broad chest, feeling small and yet so warm it melted away all of his previous anxiety. It's not. It's their problem if they see us differently just because we are together. But what if it means we'll never succeed? Then that's how it's going to be. But I don't want to give up yet. Kenji nodded, trying not to think about the situation too much. Instead, he hid deeper into the safety of his beloved's arms, sending a silent prayer to the gods to not let Aone have a change of heart. The issue Taichi faced with a challenge like this wasn't necessarily his worry about potentially hurting Hayato's feelings, but rather that, after all the medical scares of the last year or so, he was almost certain Hayato would freak out. Now that his health finally seemed to stabilize, he didn't want to tempt fate and bring it up again. He could already see Hayato worried that the touches were causing him pain, just like when his blood decided to spill into his muscles. He didn't want that. The peace was far too precious to ruin it with challenges. And so he spent a good chunk of the morning trying to think of some way to help Kunimi out without causing disturbance. But the more he thought about it, the less possible it seemed to come up with some harmless idea. Come on, there's always a way. The fainting prank also ended quite well for us, so there has to be a way to get this done too. Boo! Taichi flinched and squealed, his embarrassment and racing heartbeat rewarded by a quiet snicker. Don't do this to me. You'll add heart palpitations to an already long list of issues like this. He was only half joking, and even Hayato seemed to take it a bit more seriously after the reminder. A tender kiss landed on Taichi's cheek, easily making him forget any and all grievances he might have felt for the scare. I'm sorry, but I couldn't resist. You looked so cute, all absorbed in thought. I got cuteness aggression. Huh? How's that supposed to be an apology? A little half-baked, true. So, how about this? He leaned over the back of the couch and tilted his chin. He went for a kiss, Taichi was pretty sure, but the pain that shot through his shoulder the second Hayato used it to stabilize himself didn't let him appreciate the gesture. Hayato straightened immediately, his eyes widened and darting over Taichi in apparent panic. What happened? What did I do? Nothing. It's okay. Just please don't touch me there. He rubbed his shoulder, hoping to ease the throbbing pain, while he silently cursed himself for letting it slip his mind. Now Hayato was panicking despite his efforts to prevent it, kneeling in front of him with the most tortured expression Taichi had ever seen on his face. I'm not going to, but what's wrong? Is it the joints again? Do you need more clothing factors? I'll bring you the bag. We should still have one in the fridge. I'll be right back, just... Wait, no, it's not that. He sighed, mentally cursing his clumsiness one more time before he looked straight into Hayato's eyes to make sure his words came across. I slept yesterday at work. Someone spilled their shot and I didn't notice. Slammed right into the bar. It just bumped, so it's going to hurt for a while, but it's nothing serious. Yeah, sure. It's not like it could have been your head or anything. Taichi flinched. He had thought about it too, more than once and in rather graphic detail. He sure got lucky his shoulder got in the way. But hearing Hayato's hitched tone... I'm sorry. Shaking his head, Hayato sighed and then finally pulled him into a kiss, leaving their foreheads touching for a while after they parted. You have nothing to apologize for. You didn't hurt yourself on purpose. But next time, tell me, even if you think it's not serious. You promised to tell me everything, remember? I know. Good. Do you want ice on that shoulder? Yeah, that might be a good idea. Okay, stay here, I'll be right back. Taichi watched him walk away to the kitchen, a strange mix of guilt and contentment bubbling in his chest. The challenge might have gone well in terms of severity, but the fact was, he broke his promise. Again. What wouldn't he do for his kohai when he was in trouble? At least that's what Oikawa kept on repeating to himself the whole time he walked home from practice. But even though he worried a little about the result of such challenge, he supposed he could take it as a test of sorts. Not like when they were testing their partner's loyalty, but a test of how things were between them. Maybe he was being stupid, always testing them and their relationship, but he couldn't help himself. It was a mess of his own making, he knew that. Which was exactly why he had to fight the urge to keep making sure what they were doing was working. It didn't matter how many times Iwaizumi reassured him they were fine. He had to see it. It's kind of a risky stance though, doing this with challenges. Fortunately, it always went well so far, so hopefully this one will too. He took a deep breath before he opened the door, unpleasantly reminded of the moments when he came home upset and snapped at Iwaizumi for no good reason. Hopefully he won't take it that way when I won't raise my voice. He carefully peeked into the living room, but there was no trace of his fiancée. Confused, he headed inside, slightly more worried when he didn't find him in the garden either. He should be home already. What's going on? He didn't say anything about staying late. Just to be sure, he checked his phone, but there really weren't any messages or missed calls. Really worried now, he started to search the house, and then finally breathed a sigh of relief when he found Iwaizumi in the bedroom, sprawled out on the bed like a starfish, snoring so loudly he was surprised he didn't hear it through the door. And here I was worried about him. He couldn't be upset though, not when he knew how hard Iwaizumi worked. And so he let him be, only sending a little air kiss to him to not wake him up, and retreated back into the living room. About an hour passed when he heard the bedroom door open, followed by tapping of footsteps on the wooden floor. I see someone finally decided to leave his nest. Judging by the quiet huff behind him, his tone was just right to carry the teasing across as intended. Yeah, I thought I would just take a nap, but I'm beat. And left me all alone here. Unbelievable. He put on his best pouting face and ostentatiously turned away, but inside his whole body tensed, waiting for Iwaizumi's reaction. Would he get upset? Or match the teasing like he used to before Oikawa ruined everything? For a while, nothing happened, and then he found himself wrapped in a firm embrace, slightly choking, but warm nonetheless. What an awful offense. It was. I was looking forward to spending evening with you the whole day, and you are here snoring away. So don't you touch me now. No cuddles for you. His heart almost skipped a beat when Iwaizumi laughed next to his ear instead of pulling away. What a pity that I don't intend to let go now when I got comfy. Choking me is comfortable for you? Don't ask questions you don't want an answer for. Hajime, you meanie. Let go. Now I'm really upset. Nope. Hey. Nope and nope. You're mine now. He nuzzled deeper into Oikawa's neck, making goosebumps appear on his arms. You weren't the only one who looked forward to the evening. Shiver ran down Oikawa's spine, but there was no anxiety, no worry in it, but excitement instead. It seemed like things were really looking good again. No one in their right mind would attempt to do a challenge like this in their situation, right? Kogane definitely considered it a stupid idea, especially since he was the reason behind the tension currently clenching their home in its grip. It had been over a month since the encounter, and yet he still failed to come up with a satisfying explanation that wouldn't scare Goshiki. He knew he was probably overthinking it, and that Goshiki would understand after some explaining was done, but whenever he just looked at his fiancée, his throat closed, refusing to let any explanation through. To say he was ashamed didn't describe his feelings in the slightest. Isn't this great? You're doing the exact same thing he was when he kept things to himself, and how that ended. Damn coward. It's not like you killed someone or anything. Taking a deep breath, he disregarded the challenge completely. For now, at least. As much as he wanted to help Kunimi with his troubles, he had his own to deal with right now. For about the 10th time that day, he clenched his fists and got up from wherever he was sitting in that moment, firmly decided he was going to tell Goshiki now. But despite that, he was still yet to say a single word about the incident. But this time, he had to. He couldn't go on any longer. He couldn't keep hurting his beloved like this for even a minute longer. Otherwise, he could just say goodbye to any stability their relationship might have kept. He walked through the flat searching for Goshiki, his legs feeling like weighed down by invisible chains. But he had to do this. He had to. Sure enough, he found Goshiki moving around the kitchen, apparently fully focused on the screen of his phone and the sizzling pan in front of him. Kogane paused for a second or two, mesmerized by the expression on Goshiki's face. It's been a long while since he couldn't see a smidge of hurt in his eyes, though thinking about it, he suddenly wasn't sure if that was a good sign or not. Only one way to find out. Tsutomu, can we talk? Goshiki didn't even look at him, even though he did acknowledge his presence, and continued in stirring the contents of the pan. Tsu? What do you want? Talk? Now? You want to talk? I'm busy. Taken aback by the unusual sharpness of Goshiki's voice, Kogane's willpower wavered a bit. So much so he had to fight the urge to just say forget it and disappear back into the bedroom. But he had to push through. No more running away. He crossed the distance between them, so short and yet so incredibly far, and laid his hand on Goshiki's arm. So, please just hear me out. I want to... He didn't finish when Goshiki tore his arm from his grasp, his whole posture tense as he put more distance between them. Don't touch me! Don't you fucking touch me! You've been avoiding me for the past month and now you have the audacity to grab me to make me listen? Not happening! Kogane just blinked helplessly, not knowing what to say or do to make things better. But he couldn't really make things better, right? He messed up already by waiting for so long, by hurting his beloved for so long with his detachment. Biting hard on his lip, he took a deep breath. He wouldn't run away, not again. Then just listen to me for a while, please. It was because of betting. He thought he could buy me to lose a few matches and I refused. So he brought more people. I didn't tell you because I'm a coward, but I didn't want to scare you or risk you getting caught in it. I get why you are upset and I'm sorry. Really. And I'm sorry I can't face you now either. He didn't wait for Goshiki's answer and headed out of the door, only hearing a faint call of his name behind his back before the door separated them. He had never felt so guilty about doing a challenge like right now. The heavy feelings surrounded his heart, made even worse by the fact he was the one who came up with it. But he had to do something. He couldn't watch Kindaichi fret around him while he clearly dismissed his own flaring pain. Of course, he was beyond grateful for Kindaichi's care, but not if it was to the detriment of his health. Please don't let this hurt his feelings. Please. He carefully sat up on the couch where Kindaichi swaddled him in a blanket about half an hour ago, letting his head get used to the change of position and pressure before he got up to his feet. His head still spun a little, an unfortunate side effect of the new meds he got at hospital, but it was nowhere near as bad as before. They still weren't able to tell him why he suddenly had memory issues, just that his blood pressure was dangerously low sometimes, hence why he fainted in the first place, which left both of them on edge. Maybe that's why he's always moving. Do not think about it. You really have a talent to ruin everything good happening, don't you? First the engagement, then wedding planning, and now adopting a kid. Aki. He flinched, violently torn from his thoughts. What? Sorry, I didn't mean to scare you, but you shouldn't get up yet. Soon, Kindaichi appeared in front of him, his eyes darting over his face and body as if looking for some sign of illness again. You know the doctor said you should stay settled for at least an hour after you take the meds. I know, but I'm fine. I'm not doing anything taxing, I just stood up. Yeah, but still. At least call me over so that... He stilled, leaving the sentence unfinished, but Kunimi didn't need to hear the rest to know what he was trying to say. So that I could catch you if you fell again. He reached to cup Kindaichi's cheeks, the worry in his eyes making his heart ache. I'm fine, I promise. Are you? Or are you just saying that so I don't feel that bad about not believing you before? Because it's not working. Despair clear in his voice, he bit hard on his lip and looked away, blinking rapidly before he let out a shuddered sigh. I'm being so selfish now, aren't I? You and selfish don't belong in one sentence. But overbearing does, doesn't it? I mean, a little. I appreciate you taking care of me, I swear I do. I think you should take a step back sometimes, you know? I'm not going to crumble whenever you aren't around. For your own sake. Just look how many more painkillers you have to take these days because you're always running around me. He clenched the front of Kindaichi's hoodie in his fists, a wave of despair of his own making his hands tremble. I don't want you to be in pain because of me. He prayed his words came across the way he meant them, scanning Kindaichi's face for any sign of hurt or anxiety. But the defeated sigh Kindaichi let out after a while told him his fiancée understood. Okay, I'll try to give you space. But please tell me if you ever feel faint again, or that something doesn't feel right, okay? I swear I won't dismiss it again. A huge boulder fell from Kunimi's chest. He cracked a small smile and stood up on his tiptoes to steal a quick kiss, glad he didn't have to go full out on the challenge. But more importantly, that they both could heal side by side without detriment to either's health. That was the most important part. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I don't know, I feel like I kind of forgot to turn on the angst in this part. You obviously will prove me wrong in the comments, but I don't know, I'm still not fully content with the amount of angst I'm producing. As in, it's very low. I really need to come up with something harsh. If you have any requests or ideas, the request form is linked in the video description. See you next time.